Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters temporary studio. Welcome to the show. You will never believe it, but this brand new Simic commander has to deal with drawing cards. Okay, I'm joking just a little bit. I mean, this brand new Ezuri Stalker of Spheres is actually a pretty interesting commander when it comes to going about how it draws those cards. Yeah, the joke about Simic is, yeah, lands and card draw. And yeah, this one fits the bill, at least one of those. Anyways, Ezuri is a 3/3 Phyrexian Elf Warrior that costs 2 green-blue and says, when it enters the battlefield, you may pay 3. If you do, proliferate twice, which is already quite the powerful thing. I mean, there is a decent amount of mana investment for that, but we'll talk about some ways to really utilize that to the most effectiveness amount. That's not a phrase. Anyways, whenever you proliferate, draw a card, though, that's a great way to draw a ton of cards in a deck that wants to proliferate. In a deck that wants to do that can take advantage of that proliferation in a lot of different ways. So this commander, basically, again, when it comes into play, if you're paying 3, you get all the benefits from your proliferation twice, and you get to draw 2 cards. So, in a way, it's kind of like, divination. Basically, hey, pay 3, draw 2, essentially on the ETB. Of course, with all the other benefits of proliferating, whether that's, getting a poison counter on your opponents and, bringing up the number of poison counters they have and taking them out with that. Once you get to 10 poison counters, they are gone. Or, of course, ++1 counters, charge counters, loyalty counters for your planeswalkers. There are plenty of different things that you can utilize this proliferating for and ways to make it a lot easier to use and abuse this commander's ETB. Because again, yeah, 3 mana is a decent amount, but of course in Simic, well, when it comes to ramping and card draw, you usually don't have any problems with that, so you're going to be able to ramp quite a bit, and that proliferation can help you ramp even further to some absurd amounts. And of course, on top of that, outside of Ezuri's, ability to let you proliferate on that ETB, there are plenty of other fantastic proliferate effects that you can really utilize and make the most of, because you're basically just stapling onto that card also, yeah, draw a card. I mean, if it's proliferate even more than that, then draw multiple cards. We'll talk about some really big cards for that as well. Now, on this episode, like these other quick takes around a commander, I'm going to talk about some budget buys, which are cards within my own budget that you should be considering. So cards that are less than $1 if you want to build around this commander. And then, yeah, cards that are pricier picks, cards that are outside of my budget, more than $1 to consider as well. Regardless, all these cards will be in a link in the description below, so make sure you check that out. Now, with all that said, let's jump into those cards. So first up, of course, like I mentioned, just stapling on draw a card when you're proliferating can be fantastic. Tezzret's Gambit, which is already basically a divination, right? 3 in Phyrexian blue, but you can just pay that 2 life instead of that mana. Draw 2 cards, then proliferate. And again, this is basically going to be draw 3 cards for 3 mana, plus the benefit of proliferation. Whichever, counters you want to get more of, you can do so. Plane-wide Celebration. This massive janky spell, 7 mana, choose 4. Create a 2/2 citizen creature token that's all colors. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Proliferate, you gain 4 life. And again, you can choose the same mode more than once. So you literally could just, pick Proliferate 4. You get all those benefits from proliferating. Again, getting a lot of counters on whatever you want to get counters on. And then, of course, draw 4 cards on top of that. So yeah, in combination with this commander, that can be a very powerful thing. Flux Channeler. This one can help you do it a lot throughout the game, proliferate a ton throughout the game. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, proliferate. And yeah, like I'm mentioning so far, good amount of non-creature spells to pick from that can do some very powerful things. Basically, whenever you're casting a non-creature spell now, you are also cantripping. You're also drawing a card thanks to this brand new commander. Now, again, when it comes to ramp, I mentioned that Simic, of course, is very good at ramping because you got access to green, but also with this proliferation, with your commander's proliferation and all the other effects, Overflowing Chalice becomes bonkers. Enters the battlefield with a charge counter on it for each time it was kicked. So, yeah, even if you just start this off with just 1 charge counter on it, it's going to tap for your charge counter on it. And of course, you can keep proliferating again and again and again to get more and more counters on this to make this tap for an absurd amount, to the point where, yeah, you're paying 3 mana for your commander to, when it comes into play, to proliferate twice, but you're basically getting 2 extra charge counters on this every single time building the amount of mana that this can tap for to a huge amount, and also, again, getting the other benefits from that proliferation, including card draw. Coalition Relic, another one to consider as well. Taps for 1 mana of any color, or you can tap to put a charge counter on it. So normally this would be like, okay, you could tap for 1 at a turn, or kind of like tap for 2 at a turn. But again, with all this proliferation, including our commanders, we can get more and more charge counters on this. Because at the beginning of our pre-combat main phase, those charge counters do go away, but we get 1 mana for every single one of those charge counters. So yeah, proliferating a lot, including with our commander's ability, or ETB I should say, can really help us. One that doesn't, utilize charge counters or anything like that, but one that is a great repeatable source of mana for us is something like Frontier Siege. Enters the battlefield, choose cons or dragons. For this example, I'm choosing cons. Beginning of each of your main phases, add green to your mana pool. That is 4 free mana every single turn, every single one of your turns at the first, main phase and our second main phase. And again, you can utilize that when your commander is coming into play, just as, an additional, okay, yeah, now this basically only costs 1 for our commander's ETB. And of course, there are plenty of ways to get that ETB again and again and again. So you have extra mana lying around like this can be fantastic. Next up, we can take advantage of our commander's ability to draw us cards even more and make it an even better trigger with Thought Reflection. If you would draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. Now, every single time we proliferate, we draw 2 cards, which can get absolutely ridiculous, especially with our commander's ETB again. Basically, hey, pay 3 mana, proliferate twice, normally draw 2 cards, but now let's draw 4 cards, and that is an incredible rate for 3 mana. Ominous Seas, a card that can really take advantage of our card draw and proliferation. Whenever you draw a card, you get a 4 shadow counter on Ominous Seas. By removing 8 of those counters from it, we get an 8/8 Kraken. So again, our card draw from our commander helps us get more counters on this, and our proliferation from, all of our things, as well as our commander, helps get more and more counters on this as well, so we can make a Kraken army in absolutely no time. And of course, we've got access to a lot of great blink effects like Teferi's Time Twist. Basically, blink target permanent you control. It comes back at the end of the end step. Comes with a counter on it too, which is nice. So yeah, we can make Ezuri bigger and bigger and bigger when it stays in play. Moving on, when it comes to our pricier picks, Essence Flux. Wizards, reprint this, please. A very simple blink spell. Basically, just blink creature you control, but a spirit gets counter on it. Our commander is not a spirit, but still, it's just a 1 mana blink spell. Wizards, reprint it. Should not be over $1. Deadeye Navigator, a card that is definitely over $1, and for a good reason. Yeah, this card can be very broken. Regardless, as it enters the battlefield, we are going to pair it with our commander, and when it's soulbound, each of those creatures has pay 1 blue. Exile this creature, return to the battlefield under your control. So now for just 2 mana, we can blank our commander, again, paying 3 to proliferate and draw some cards. And of course, again, with cards like, Everflowing Chalice, we can really take advantage of this, getting more and more mana from something like that. Conjurer's Closet, a good free way, a good free repeatable way to blink our commander, though. At the beginning of your end step, exile target creature control, return the card to the battlefield under your control. Yeah, that is a 5 mana investment, then give us a lot of value throughout the game. And of course, the list of these kinds of blink effects in the price your picks can go on and on and on. But yeah, that's a Deep Dwelling, basically a Conjurer's Closet on an enchantment creature. Yeah, this also can just be a very threatening creature, a 6/5 that can also tap down other creatures, but at the very least, hey, blink a creature every single turn, and blinking our commander, of course, can be a very powerful thing. Speaking of powerful, Inexorable Tide. Whenever you cast a spell, proliferate. So this is like Flux Channeler to the next level. Again, this unenchantment's harder to deal with, and of course, this counts every single spell that we cast. So now whenever we cast any spell, we are going to be proliferating, which of course helps us out in a ton of ways, and also is going to help us draw cards. So basically, every single one of your spells has a cantrip now too. Evolution Sage, another great way, especially in Simic, to proliferate. Whenever a land enters battlefield under control, proliferate. Of course, again, like I've mentioned, we've got plenty of fantastic ways to ramp, rampant growth style plays, essentially. But also, if we have got Evolving Wilds or whatnot, proliferating just by playing a land, cracking that land, getting another land. Yeah, basically, an Evolving Wilds is going to help us proliferate twice with this and help us just draw 2 cards just for doing just that. Moving on, Gemstone Array, a card that I think has a lot of potential with this commander. Pay 2, get a charge counter on it. By removing a charge counter from it, you add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So kind of in a way like an Everflowing Chalice, but basically we are kind of building up those counters, and we can remove them at any time to do so. We're not just tapping it for 1 big amount of mana. We can keep those counters stored on it, proliferate further, get more and more counters on this, and then utilize them when we need to. Again, just another way essentially to reduce the cost of our commander's ETB cost in a way. Because, yeah, basically, I mean, we get 2 mana back essentially every single time we do that, right? Because they proliferate twice. Next up, Carpet of Flowers, another great, very expensive way to get a big burst of mana. During your main phase, you may add up to X mana of any one colored mana pool or X the number of islands an opponent controls. So basically, if one of your opponents is playing islands, which, is pretty likely, you just get a bunch of free mana with this. Teferi's Latest Insight, basically a better thought reflection. I mean, it's slightly worse when it's actually in play because, yeah, it's not going to double up, your actual just draw for the turn, but it does, everything else essentially. Hey, if you draw a card except the first to draw of each of your turns, draw 2 cards instead. Again, doubling up our commander's trigger essentially. Hey, okay, we're going to proliferate twice when it comes into play. We're going to draw 2 thanks to the proliferation, and those are doubled to 4. Again, pretty absurd when you can really take advantage of some big plays like that. Yeah, at the end of the day, though, yes, this is yet another Simic commander that deals with card draw, but at least it goes about it in an interesting and unique way. Again, that ETB can be quite powerful. You can take this commander in a lot of different directions. Again, you might go ++1 counters. You might go -1/-1 counters for your opponent's creatures. You might go with planeswalkers. You might go with charge counters, or just a combination of many of those things. But again, you can get a lot of value out of this commander. There's a lot of powerful things that you can do, and you can draw a ton of cards when you really focus on proliferating a lot with it. And yeah, again, a reminder, if you are interested in building around this commander, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. That's got all the cards I talked about on this episode. And with that, today's episode is coming to a close. I hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on it in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.